The Cleveland Browns are trying to get a new stadium. It didn't even make the show last week when it was announced that they're moving out of the city of Cleveland and they're doing this entire development, which is what owners do. It's what they need to do to be competitive. It's what they need to do to justify putting any money into a stadium, because that is a losing proposition no matter how many Guns N' Roses concerts you have, no matter how many times you can fill it with some fun events. Contributing to a stadium, you do not get your money out. It was very interesting to me when I read yesterday that the Cleveland Browns organization has gone to court. They have filed for a declaratory judgment. What does that mean? Imagine if you have an argument with your friend, and it could be a legal argument, it could be a sports argument, it could be whatever you want. And you say, you know what? I'm not going to sue you yet. Don't sue me yet. Let's go to court and let's ask a judge what he would do in case I would sue you or you would sue me. Let's get a declaratory judgment, which means let's go to a judge to say, by the way, it's this. And you'll say, given that a judge says it's this, I'm not going to argue it's that. That's the concept. Well, the Cleveland Browns have a problem. There is something in Cleveland called the Modell law. If you've never heard of the Modell law, you're not alone. But if you haven't heard of Art Modell, you may be alone. Art Modell was the owner of the Cleveland Browns, who picked up and moved the team to Baltimore. Art Modell did something that was very upsetting to the people in Cleveland. He is hated in Cleveland in a way that I never was hated anywhere, whether it was Montreal or Florida all those decades ago. Art Modell. So he picked up and moved the team, and the legislature got together and said, listen, we don't want that to ever happen again. We hate losing teams. It feels so bad. We're going to pass a law, and we're going to call it the Modell law. And the Modell law says that any owner who wants to move has to get permission from Ohio. Think about that. Every team owner in Ohio, if you want to move, you have to seek permission. And without permission, if you think you're just going to move, the law says you have to give 6 months notice, and you have to allow the local government where you are, if Cincinnati Reds in Cincinnati, Cleveland Guardians in Cleveland, you have to allow the local government and local investors the opportunity to buy your team and keep it in Cleveland. It's one of the funniest laws I've ever seen. It's one of the most meaningless laws I've ever seen. The Art Modell law has actually never been tested. Jimmy Haslam, you may remember this. Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns, the whole Deshaun Watson, Jimmy Haslam, let me ask my wife and daughter, that guy. He actually benefited from the Modell law about 6 years ago. If you don't remember, he bought the Columbus Crew, and they were going to leave. And they invoked the Modell law, and they had to find, or at least try to find, a local investor. Here comes Jimmy Haslam, a local investor. But the law says you only have to give an opportunity to a local investor. It doesn't say you have to sell to the local investor. Hey, I'll give you an opportunity to buy the team. Oh, all right, wrong price. See you later. There's so many ways around this Modell law. But the reason why the Browns want to get clarification is that they're moving out of the city of Cleveland, but they're moving to the suburb. It's the equivalent of the Panthers having to get permission to move to Broward from Miami-Dade. Although I would argue Broward and Miami-Dade, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, are way further apart and a bigger difference than what the Browns are doing, city of Cleveland on the lakefront versus in the burbs. But they still view it as a possibility that the city of Cleveland could do it. Why? Because the city of Cleveland said, understand that you're trying to move out of Cleveland, and we're not very happy about that. Now, we know, Mr. Haslam, you don't own the land around this downtown building. We know you can't benefit from building a new stadium or refurbing what we're playing in now, but we don't want to let you leave. So we are taking your decision to move as a formal relocation. I'd like you to picture what a judge would say. The judge hears it for the declaratory judgment and tries to understand whether the Modell law that was put on the books after Art Modell moved to Baltimore, whether a relocation is moving out of an actual city into the same county or into the adjoining county. It doesn't pass the smell test to me. If Milwaukee moves its team to Green Bay, that may be worth considering, though it's the same state. If Milwaukee moves from downtown Milwaukee to Fox Point, I'm not sure they have a leg to stand on. And that's the equivalent. In New York, it would be like going from the Upper East Side to Chelsea or to Jersey or to the Barclays Center, the Prudential Center, pretending those were the same states, which two of them are. So there's going to be a lot of attention here, so much so that the COO of the Modell of the Haslam Group, he gave this huge statement. He was trying to say that we've been acting in good faith with the city of Cleveland, and we're so disappointed that the city is doing this to us, and we don't want them to invoke the Modell law. And we are going to stay in Cleveland and in Northeast Ohio, and we're good for the community, and we're doing everything we can. And by the way, we own a ton of land in this new spot, and it's going to be a chef's kiss real estate play. So that's why we're getting the declaratory judgment, because we want to make sure we can get this done. Because if not, we're not going to put $1 billion into a new stadium if we can't get the development. So we'd rather know now. I think it's fantastic. The judge will rule on this declaratory judgment. And let me just give you a quick view into whether or not the Modell law applies to the current situation with the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to say no.